I'm Cindy Gay. Sorry about that false start. I wanted to try the broadcast using the data plan on my iPad. Now, fair warning, it's not a big data plan. I don't know how long exactly all this is going to take as far as data, and this may cut out at some point completely, but it is what it is, I guess. I needed to do this test to see if purchasing a larger plan is really the way to go. And I needed to try that. So today what I'm working on is a color plan for one of my stair risers. And it's this one right here, Queen Anne Rose. It's been a very popular pattern for a long time. It was actually the very first stair riser that I put out there. And what I want to do is to be able to offer sort of a kit. I don't like the idea of kits, but I do like the idea of you kind of plugging and playing. And what that would be be like an offer of maybe 3 different backgrounds. You pick the one you want. You pick the rose color. You pick the exact greens that you want, and then you pick your accent color. And that would give everybody then a slightly different twist on what's going on, and you can get closer to what you actually want. But it would make it easier, particularly for new people, because all the wool that you need would be right there. So let's get this out of the way for a minute. One thing that you can do is there are instructions on the website. I printed these out using a laser printer. If you have a color printer, it'll do a much better job because it'll actually show up the color. It's about 9 pages long, and one of the things that it has at the bottom is the quantity of wool that you need. So even if you wanted to do this completely on your own, this tells you how much you need and what kind of colors you need. For the rose, you need a light, medium, and dark, that type of thing. So I'll set that aside for now. To duplicate somewhat of what I've done, here is one offer in red, and when you squeeze it, let me see how close I can get with that if it'll focus. Basically, it's a light, medium, and dark. The medium color will be the bulk of your rose, so you want to concentrate on that one more so than the others. I also figure I can put this with a yellow. This is a gold that's not in your face gold. In fact, it hooks up a little bit on the dark side, but I think it'll live wonderfully with this red and will make a good addition. So that would be one of the red combinations. Then I started playing. And one thing I found or decided to go with is a blue option. I know roses aren't blue, but there's people who like blue. I don't really care too much about matching the exact color of a particular flower. Hook what you love. If you love blue, here's a good combination for blue. And also, I was trying to do a purple because I know there's people who really love purple. And all I could find was a light and a dark until I accidentally put it next to this blue light, and I think that works very well as a rose. I might hook that one. That one looks really fun. Gold. Here's a yellow, more of a primitive yellow, a darker color, a medium color, and a light. And again, the bulk of the rose is going to be what's in the center. What other color combination did I do? I think that was it. I kind of like ran out of time and didn't get all of those together. Oh, this was with the red. Okay. The other thing that the stair riser has, which is sort of a no-brainer, if you do a light background, the Queen Anne's rose shows up really nice. So most of the time people do a light background. And my favorite white is this wonderful white. It has a little bit of a gray texture in it, but it really hooks up nice as a pure white, even though it's far from it. This paper I consider pure white, so it's a long way from pure white, but it gives that nice little sparkle. It's a great wool, it's a nice hand, one of my favorite wools. Then, pretty much, when we look at the pattern, there's, in fact, let me go over here. Oh boy. See if I can figure out where, I want to get rid of that lower third. I can figure out where that gets turned on at. And I'm not going to be able to figure it out. Oh, shoot. Okay, that's too much of your time fussing with that. But I had it figured out when I was set up before. And then I had to restart because I wasn't connected to my iPad, and that's where I needed to be. So the next big step is going to be the greens. And the greens can be whatever you want. I mean, this is sort of a gray green, which should be closer perhaps to what I have here, and a little bit of variety. I don't like to do them all the same value, but I like to have them somewhat related. And so that would be one of the greens. Here's an unusual one. This particular wool here is very unusual, and it kind of gets overlooked because it's a little bit on the kind of boring, bland side, but it makes great leaves. I taught one of my stair risers at Lancaster, wherever the Atha was a couple of years ago. And this particular rug has this wool. And part of it was to, the kit included that, and part of it was to help people understand how textures worked. Let's see if I can get you a close-up picture of that. The greens are really pretty using this, but it's not a wool that you would look at and go, ooh, that's a green I really love. But paired with these sort of toned down gray greens, it's a really pretty combination. And then I have the good old green greens. Nothing too spectacular on that. Stock's getting a little low on those pretty greens, so these don't have much texture to them. And then, oh, backgrounds. I haven't quite decided on backgrounds, but I've got some of this double-sided black that everybody loves. It's been a long time favorite. It's this on one side and this on the other, so it's a little bit lighter and darker. You could make sure you hook only on one side or just randomly flip them. This is a dark, kind of an unusual check wool, and it makes just sort of a nice background, but it still is interesting. And then I have my antique bundles. These are done in, usually this one's a bundle that's more black. There are bundles that are more brown. There are bundles that are more brown. This is one that's a little bit on the light side from what it usually does. But when you have a dark, light background, what happens is it makes it look more primitive. When you're hooking a primitive rug and you chop off the bright brights and you chop off the dark darks, that's when you end up with the perfect primitive combination. So this would give you a more primitive look than what this, the black, or even this one would give you. I had an example of a couple of those. These are some I hooked some time ago, and shame on me, this one's still not completely finished on the edge, but I've kind of let it go because it makes a good example when I'm teaching. And right now, I'm still waiting for our new stairs, the treads and risers to be replaced in the new house. So there's no real rush to get this done so that I can display it. But in here, you can see there's not a really dark background. you know, it's a little bit on the light side. It's even lighter. You can't see that. It's even lighter than what this particular piece of wool is. And it might be more along, you know, these tones in the middle. But because there's no light brights and there's no really darks, you end up with this medium range, and it gives you sort of more of a primitive look. And this is just a geometric that I kind of winged. It's not offered as a pattern yet, but that's my mission for this summer, is to, once I get this video thing kind of figured out and rolling, then I'll be doing more patterns and getting several new patterns that have been developed but just haven't been published. So that will happen. And then this one has another example of a light dark background. Because the values are relatively close, it gives it more of an antique look. So those are two little fun ones. I'm not sure if this one might not be on the pattern offering either. I'll have to check on that. Okay, so let's throw together a combination like you would do on the website, just for kicks. Oh, and if this cuts out at any time, it's because I've ran through 2 months worth of data on my phone. So I'm sorry if it cuts out, and I don't know exactly when that's going to happen. Let's do one with the dark antique background. That gives you, whenever you have a dark background, it really makes the colors rich. Okay, so let's say we'll use that one. And I really like the red. So I'm going to do the red combination. There's my dark, there's my medium, and with the gold option. So that'll be that. I have to have the white. Let me tilt that so that you can see what I'm doing. So I've got the red here for the flower. This would be the background. The white for the Queen Anne rose. So I only really have two more decisions, which would be which greens do I use and what do I use as an accent color. And an accent color can be almost nothing or almost anything. My favorite accent color since this one's been available has been this turquoise. I love putting it with my reds and golds and greens. So that one would be my accent color. Now, as far as greens go, which one do I like? I wonder what this looks like. This would be kind of cool. That looks kind of interesting, but it's also reflecting a little bit too much on this gold color, meaning they're kind of looking somewhat similar. So I'm going to go with something a little bit different. So I think I'm going to use this unusual combination, this particular one with the two gray greens. And I like that. I think that'll work. Then all I have to do is follow the instructions that are downloadable, and it tells you how much you need of each of the pieces of wool. Now, when I prepare my wool, I've got a piece that will explainer. Need something that's a full yard. Okay, I think this one's a full yard. This is another possible one that I'm going to offer for accents. This one I pulled would be a good accent. I don't remember what else I pulled. I think a blue or something along that line. But in any event, to get what I'm calling a strip on the instructions is relatively simple. And I think these instructions are on my website. I'm not 100% sure. Okay, so you take a yard of wool. Oh shoot, that's not a yard. Why does that always happen? This one is. Okay, so you take a yard of wool, and this is how it is when you buy it. You know, it's cut and it's ready to go. When it comes out of the washer and dryer, I then divide it. I fold it in half and I snip that fold. Then you open it up and you fold, and I'll usually push the salvage out beyond so it doesn't get included in that first strip. So whoever rips that one off isn't getting cheated. In fact, they might get a little bit more because a lot of times you can hook the salvage. So I line that up that way, and then it's in half and in half. And then you go in with scissors, and there's 3 places that are folded that you clip. And when you're done, you've got half of the wool done, and then you go to the other side and do the same thing. That gives you 16 pieces of wool, which is, so each piece then is a 16th of a yard. On my website, I call it a strip. And I think in the instructions, I'm calling it strip there. So that's the definition of a strip, a 16th of a yard, or a quarter of a quarter yard. And that's the smallest piece of wool I sell. And I sell my wool that way mainly because when you're ready to hook a flower, such as that rose, I want you to use a couple different values. And if all I sold were quarter yards, you'd have to buy 3/4 of a yard just to hook that rose. And that doesn't make sense. Okay. I told you about the downloadable instructions and how I'm going to do the color planning. I'm not sure how I'm going to present it on the website. I have to work on that. So let me know how. I don't have the chat window up because I had to restart this video so quickly. But let me know either by in that comments on the sidebar if you're watching it on my website, or if you're watching it on YouTube or Google+, make a comment there. Tell me what you think about this particular one. Was it clear? I'm not wearing my headphones with the close microphone, so the sound might be off a little bit. I forgot to charge them. So I think that's it. Let me know how the video works out, and I'm 20 minutes, so I'm gonna quit it there, and we'll see how much data I used. If it works, I guess I'm off to Verizon. So thanks everybody. See you next time.